All right, I'd like to welcome everybody first off for coming to the Williamson County Board meeting. It's great to see you, great turnout. It's always good to see people here, see county business. At this time, what I'd like to do is let's go ahead and stand and recite the pledge. I'd like to do everybody. Oh, okay, excuse me. I'm a little bit out of order here. So it's August 17th, 2018 at 9 a.m. Roll call, please.
Jim Marlowe.
Present.
Brent Gentry.
Present.
Ron Ellis.
Present. Okay, now at this time, let's say I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we thank you for giving us opportunity together today. Lord, this is a business of the people, and Lord, we guide and direct that you will be with each one of us. We make the right decision for the taxpayers of this county, Lord. And thank you for all that come out today to express their opinions one way or another. And Lord, be with our men and women to fight for our freedom. Give us the opportunity to be here today. Lord, many people out there that are struggling, that are sick, Lord, we watch as you put your hand on top of them and guide them to get better soon. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here today. And we thank you, pray. Amen.
We've got a few things on the agenda here, and I'm going to mix it up a little bit today. I don't think everybody's here to discuss what we're going to do with buying road graders, but so I know everybody's here to discuss the gun resolution question that we're trying to put on the ballot. What I'd like to do is I know everybody is here because they'd like to maybe say something. And what I'd like to do is set the ground rules for speaking. We'll give anyone who wants to speak 5 minutes to speak with a total of 30 minutes total because of the size of the crowd here. Otherwise, we'd be here all day doing this. But I would like to give you guys the opportunity to say something. Stephanie, if you have a timer, we can set it for 5 minutes. And what we'd like to do you want to use the podium or not? Or I thought you brought it in here for that.
It was already in here, but I mean, I can move it over.
Well, the main thing, what we usually do is set a little X right there. Most people stand there and they state their name. We have a camera going, which is a live feed. Or we do the podium, however you want to do it. But I think Wendy's got something. You want to say something?
Just real quick, before we get started, I just kind of wanted to clear up some confusion. I just wanted to make sure everybody's clear. There's a couple of things that I'm assuming that I think are going to be proposed today. I know one of them, as you all have probably heard, is a possibility of a public policy question on the ballot. And I just want to make sure everybody understands public policy questions have no legal or binding effect. There's a possibility that there may also be proposed today a resolution that voices opposition against some of the currently proposed gun legislation. It also has no legal binding effect. So I just want to make sure you guys understand that whatever happens today, whatever this board chooses to do, it will have no legal binding effect on what Springfield chooses to do, on any new laws that they may decide to pass. And I just want to make sure everybody is clear on that. So.
Okay, with that being said, we like to keep things simple here. We'll just use that golden X if anybody wants to say anything. The only thing that we ask is if you want to speak, we ask that if somebody has already said something concerning a topic or anything, let's not keep rehashing the same thing over and over. We'd appreciate it if you have something different to say. That would be great. We'll try to keep this very civil, and we'll give you the opportunity to say something. And with that being said, does anybody want to go first? Sure. You have to stand on the golden X, and what we ask you to do, because we're on camera, identify who you are, and then go ahead and Stephanie, you have the timer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I won't need much time, and I appreciate you guys letting the public come in here. And as Brent said, this is a board of the people. And as Wendy said, this is something that would just insulate us, not necessarily legally, but in the same breath as the marijuana stuff in other states insulates that state from the federal government. This would have done so for the county. So for me, this isn't a partisan issue. It's a disenfranchisement issue. Now, instead of having the opportunity for all of us in this room, and I don't see just Republicans here, I see a group of concerned citizens. So both sides, Blue Dog Democrats like guns and God just as much as Republicans do. This isn't something where I feel like 3 administrators, no offense, gentlemen, that we elected should take away from us. You should give us the right to speak our mind on November 6th. With that,
Could you
I'm
state your name for the record?
Chris O'Raha.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yes, sir. State your name and then.
My name is Richard Parrish. I'm a disabled veteran that has fought to defend our freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution. And I'm not here to discuss the pros and cons of any resolution. I'm here to talk about the process. And I feel that your job is to enable the people to voice their feelings on this and allow us to vote pro or con, however we feel on this. And we want to do that by a vote. And please allow us to do it that way. I've had to do it by other means in my service, and I don't want to do that again. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Collier. I'm a retired parole agent. And Sheriff Vick knows me, many law enforcement officers here in this building know me. I spent the last 13 years dealing with the most violent criminals face to face, tracking them in this county itself. Sex offenders and those so violent they were ordered on the satellite tracking. Please allow this resolution on the ballot so that the honest, law-abiding citizens of this county can at least make their voices heard in Springfield, so that they are able to protect themselves against these violent criminals. When legislators trying to pass laws from an area, mostly Chicago, where their laws and their law enforcement has utterly failed and would restrict the citizens here in Williamson County by their failures. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Alfred Sanders. Some of y'all know me, no Brent does. I read this thing in the paper when Mr. Ellis came out and started talking about some of this. And my understanding was it started out to be a resolution against 5 bills. And now it's changed to this broad language. Some of you know I'm also an attorney. I read these kind of things for a living. And one of the things that concerns me, I don't know what I would be voting for, because you're assuming that people are going to say yes to this question, and you're going to possibly be obligated to oppose some bill that might make sense. Well, what if the answer to this question that people give you is no? Because I'm reading it as though it may prohibit you from actually opposing anything Springfield does, regardless of how stupid it may be. So I don't know if I'm voting to prohibit you to do something or require you to do something. In addition, it's added this language of gun control legislation. I don't know what that means any more than I know what an assault rifle is. We talk about bump stocks. Is that gun control? It's not a gun. You can't shoot a bump stock. It doesn't come attached to any gun. So is that gun control legislation? 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'm going to be sitting in a dove field when dove season opens. And even though my A5 will hold 5 rounds, the state of Illinois says I got to have a plug in that gun because I can't have a gun that shoots more than 3. Is that a hunting regulation, or is that a gun control legislation? So you're using very vague terms with this new language that nobody knows what it means. And I don't know if this new language is a requirement on you or a prohibition on you. So So I urge you to seriously consider this new one. Go back to the original language against the 5 bills that I think the other 26 counties did pass.
37.
But I have a question, actually, has any county passed the resolution with this broad language in it? Because I'm not aware that any has.
I'm not, I think some have, I'm not aware of the total number. Does anybody have, an answer for that? I'll just throw that out there.
I believe there's 13 counties that I'm aware of that have placed it on the ballot here in Illinois. And the language is pretty much right at the same on all of those 13, for those 13 counties. And it is somewhat vague.
That's what concerns me. I think your original language was fine. With this new stuff, I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means if the people say yes. I don't know what it means if the people say no. And I think you're setting yourselves up and the people of this county up to look foolish. And thankfully, it doesn't have any legal effect. But I think you need to put something on the ballot that the people understand that's not going to potentially have unintended consequences.
So
That's
you,
all
so
I-
you are in favor of putting something on the ballot?
I'm in favor of putting what you originally started out doing on the ballot. I would absolutely support that. But this thing is so vague, I'm afraid I can't. And, you know, I think you started out with something that 2 Republicans and a Democrat agreed on, and somebody's changed the language where not only has our Democrat gone the other direction, it's divided the Republicans. I don't know who thought that one up, but I think it was a real bad idea.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is John Clement Herring. I realize it has no legal ramifications, I understand exactly what you said, but it has a psychological ramification to tell people, basically Cook County, DuPage County, that we live different down here. If you talk to some of the people, and I've got a relative that lives in Chicago, they believe that there should be no guns. There's no reason to hunt anymore. Our forefathers did that because they needed meat. We go to Kroger's and Costco. Don't need to go kill those little animals. They don't understand you hunt to keep the deer population down for a reason. Sports, Sparta, they don't need to have that sport. It's dangerous. If you want a sport, take up tennis or golf. And target shooting, just for the fun of it, is silly. It's dangerous. They're the people that generate a lot of these gun laws that restrict the way we live. Up there, it doesn't affect them. If you live down State Street, you probably don't hunt. You probably don't target shoot. And so we're forced to go by the volume of votes up there. And by doing this as a psychological thing, it shows them that we are different. We have a different lifestyle down here, and they should respect that. And some of the laws they wanted to pass a while back was a House bill that wanted to take away or eliminate any firearms, semi-automatic firearms for anyone of the age of 21. Up there, that doesn't mean anything to them. Down here, you got an 18-year-old, legal. He buys his first Remington 1100 so he can hunt with Grandma and his dad. They're going to, Grandpa and him are going to go out hunting. He's excited. He hunts for a year, legal. 19 years old, he joins the National Guard. He goes to Iraq, Afghanistan. He gets shot at. His friends get blown up. He comes back. He's a veteran soldier at 19 or 21 years old. And if they'd have passed that law, he would have had to sell, give away, or have his shotgun confiscated until he was not allowed to have a gun or hunt until he was 21. And they also talked about if they're under 21, take their FOID card away. Take a FOID card away, a guy's 19 years old, he's driving his dad's pickup truck, something happens, he gets stopped, there's a box of shotgun shells on the seat. He has no FOID card. His dad's in trouble, he's in trouble. If the law enforcement officer wants to go by the letter of the law. So some of these laws coming from up there, it's good for them, that's fine, that works for them. It does not work for people in rural southern Illinois. And I think the psychological effect of a sanctuary county, legally you're correct, it does nothing. But it's a psychological effect that, yes, we are different, we live different, and don't push some of your laws on us that are gonna hurt our lifestyle. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir. And on the golden necks, and tell us your name.
Bradley Marks. Last night I was watching the news, Mr. Ellis, and you made a couple points. I'm going to read from the transcript on the website. It says, "Do I want the citizens of Williamson County to be included in this political football as a political football?" And I get that. You think that we're going to be used as pawns in the middle of something to turn out Republican voters. My question is to you, though, why do you think that as a county commissioner that the people elected, you have the right to make a decision rather than us to make a decision on November 6th? To us, it is not a gun issue today. It will be on November 6th. Today is it is a disfranchisement of what we're trying to say. So whether you're pro-gun or you're anti-gun, you shall allow us to do it on November 6th. And that brings me to my second point. You said that this is being used as a political pawn to turn out right-leaning Republican voters, correct?
People that believe that it's going to be Republican and Democrats. I don't think that it's just a Republican and Democrat issue. I think that we have here in Williamson County an equal number of people, Republican and Democrats, that believe that our gun rights are being taken away. I genuinely believe that it's not just Republican and Democrats.
So do you not want a good voter turnout? If you
It's
said
not.
yourself that you want that Republicans and Democrats will turn out, yet this is being used as a political pawn by the governor's office to turn out right-leaning people. If you just said it yourself, if Republicans and Democrats are both concerned with guns, and we do have liberal people in the community, it is a hot topic issue on both sides, both parties, both ideologies. If that's going to turn people out, is that not what we want in our community, a good voter turnout?
We should have a good voter turnout, whether there's an issue that's non-binding or not. I was going to say this a little bit later, but
Remember, he's only got time.
I understand, but to answer his question, when this became obvious to me that that's what it was, Springfield doesn't give a rat's tail end about what our gun rights are. I don't think either side does, Republican or Democrat.
We do so.
I understand that, we do. But when I became a county commissioner, not only did I swear to uphold the law, but I also have said personally that I will not use this position as county commissioner for political foliage, period. I don't care which side it is. And in this particular instance, when it became tremendously obvious to me that Springfield doesn't give a rat's tail end about this, we do in this room. I will not disagree with that. And there's a lot of passion in this room about it. I understand that. But I will not let this be used for politics. Now, it's going to be. We're going to find that either late September or October, the governor's office is going to use this as a political campaign. It's coming because it's in 5 counties on the ballot here in Southern Illinois. Massac, Johnson, White, Randolph, and Madison counties have put this on the ballot here in the Deep South. So we're going to see the political campaign. I can't stop political campaigns. But I am not going to participate with the people in Williamson County of being used as a political football. I don't think it's right. I don't think it has any place in what we're doing. If this was strictly about our guns and our gun rights, which it should be, they would put it on all 102 counties.
Mike Madigan has control of the entire state.
I understand that.
And the only people gaining anything from this are the people of Williamson County, because we get to hear everybody's voice. If this is a hot topic issue from yourself, you said Republicans and Democrats turning to the polls, we will have a better voter turnout, and that's better for our community. We'll hear more sides from Democrats, we'll have more liberal turnout. This is a hot topic issue. People are going to come out and oppose this. From a liberal point of view, this is opposing any legislation, correct? Even though it's non-binding. From a liberal point of view, they're going to see there's no common sense gun control that's going to come to Williamson County. So we're going to oppose any common sense. That's going to turn out liberal votes. This is a good thing for our community. It's going to get everybody to turn out and vote. And if Governor Rauner is going to use ads to get more people to the polls, right-leaning, left-leaning, leaning, I don't see an issue in that. Both campaigns should be running ads. Everybody should be supporting this. If there's anything we can do in our county to get people to turn out to the polls, we should be doing it. And you said it yourself. This is going to turn out Republicans and Democrats. You said that on the record, and you're still opposing people to turn out and vote on either side.
I'm opposed to using this as a political game, period.
The only political gain is a good voter turnout for both sides. If that's the political gain, then we have different points of view on what a voter turnout should be and what suppressing votership. So you said yourself, Republicans and Democrats will turn out, but you don't want that?
If we have to use a gimmick to get people to the polls. That's sad. Seriously, I'm as serious as I can possibly be. We've got people around the world that do not have the right and the honor. No, I'm gonna finish this. We got people around the world that they can't come in and vote. And in the United States of America, we have not the right, but I believe the obligation to vote each and every time that we have, I'm gonna finish this, that we have that right.
We're taking away your time.
I understand. I'm gonna finish this. And we have,
Okay.
in the United States, it's our obligation to vote, whether, and there will not be again, I'm not gonna do it.
Anyone else want to speak? Yes, sir.
I understand.
Identify yourself and,
I'm gonna have to go by my notes in my old age to stay on track, so I
What's your name,
apologize.
sir?
My name is Jeff Wittenborn. I'm a Williamson County resident and taxpayer. I'm also a retired state police sergeant. My assignments were to patrol in rural southern Illinois and in inner city East St. Louis as an investigation supervisor in general crimes and drug task force, plus 12 years as a SWAT team member, sniper, and later as a team commander. My SWAT team duties included being an instructor in tactical pistol, shotgun, submachine gun, patrol rifle, sniper operations, response to active shooters, close quarters battle, and also as an AR-15 and M16 armor. Weapons and criminals are familiar to me. Part of this is rhetoric. I am personally okay with a resolution or a referendum, but one thing that goes back to is there's some accusations of weapons of war being allowed. And what is a weapon of war? Essentially, it's a full auto military firearm that are virtually outlawed and highly restricted to private citizens. The guns that are current debate are semi-auto only, which are very much in common use in southern Illinois and throughout the United States, and are the most commonly owned rifles in America. They're generally the best option for home and community defense, quote, being necessary to the security of a free state. They're used in only 1 to 3% of U.S. homicides, and the last semi-auto only rifle fielded by main U.S. infantry units was the M1 Garand, shortly after the Korean War, prior to my birth. I challenge anybody in here to name one major nation fielding semi-auto only rifles to frontline infantry units. It's a false narrative, knowingly spread by shrill fanatics. Bans of this type, in my opinion, are violations of not just the Second, but the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendments, plus several sections of Article 1 of the Illinois Constitution. Concerning to me is recent bans in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Colorado, and Los Angeles of arms and magazines have had compliance rates between 10% and 1/10,000%. Politicos are obviously okay with knowing 90% of their constituents, friends, neighbors, and family will become instant felons who will not comply and are in fact bans, seizures, bans or seizures that are enforced by armed government agents under threat of arrest and imprisonment. And their options will be reduced to lick the boots of tyrants and turn their arms over under duress. Surrender, move out of state also under duress, or exercise civil disobedience, willingly commit felonies every day for every illegal gun, magazine, and listed item. These items are constitutionally protected private property that is under threat of being taken without due process and with no compensation. I urge people to not just look at the Second, but also the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendments. Federal stats show that 60% of gun violence, quote unquote, is actually suicide. 80% of the remainder is inner city gang violence, which is a sad and troubling thing. Self-defense by police and citizens are lumped into the remainder. Wisely, a recent 9th U.S. Circuit Court decision stated, and I quote, the phrase gun violence may not be invoked as a talismanic incantation to justify any exercise of state power. During the Clinton administration, the U.S. DOJ actually authorized warrantless searches of public housing units for all guns. Armed government agents were knocking on doors with no warning and making entries into homes of people charged with no crimes. The practice was halted by court action by the ACLU and the NRA. I remember this because I was on the job then and we were possibly going to be involved in that. I told my supervisor under no certain terms would I be involved in something like that, and I would refuse to obey any order so given. Who will enforce and prosecute any laws like this relating to a ban? Who will uphold their oaths to protect the Constitution, which most public service and elected officials are obligated to do? Their oaths are to the Constitution and by proxy to the people. Oaths are not to the legislature, the governor, or to the judiciary. Failure to uphold these oaths can and should subject them to removal from office. In Southern Illinois, as we discussed earlier, it is a bipartisan issue. To my knowledge, all state legislators south of I-70 from both major parties oppose the contentious anti-gun laws and unconstitutional legislation. Chicago-style laws are being proposed, yet in the last week, over 100 people were shot and a dozen killed there despite legislation being in place that they wish to impose on the rest of us. Chicago-style gun control laws, I think I'll pass. Over 40 counties so far have passed resolutions or approved ballot referenda to protect our rights. Just Wednesday, a Chicago area legislator on the state floor introduced a resolution of her own stating, or accusing us of being, quote, scofflaws. I guess we're guilty as charged. Alexander Hamilton put it well: no legislative act contrary to the Constitution can be valid. Unjust authority confers no obligation of obedience. I'll close with this quote by one of our greatest patriots, and I challenge anyone in this room to tell me who it is. Some of you may know it. Quote, "Today we need a nation of Minutemen, citizens who are not only prepared to take up arms, but citizens who regard the preservation of freedom as a basic
George
purpose."
Washington.
Negative. Preservation of freedom as a basic purpose of their daily life, and who are willing to consciously work and sacrifice for that freedom. The cause of liberty, the cause of America, cannot succeed with any lesser effort.
Franklin?
Nope.
President John Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy, January 29th, 1961. That's the report.
Thank you.
Who would like to say something next? Anybody? Yes, sir. Stand on the golden X and.
Paul Smith, Williamson County resident, also lifelong, known Brent Gentry since he was a kid, and I was a kid also. You know, definitely when we started out on this thing, we started out sanctuary state. You know, I wrote you all three, and I said, you know, man, it would be great if we had a little PR work. Well, you know, I got the response back. Okay, I got the response back. Well, it's all PR, you know, and stuff. And then all of a sudden, we're going to put it on the ballot. Let the people decide. I think the people have decided for you guys, hopefully, and stuff that, you know, what your decision needs to be. You know, stuff. It needs to be on the ballot. Do let the people decide. We're not Chicago. We're all Americans. You know, Chicago, I've dealt with a bunch of those guys. They come down, they go to SIU, they come down, they never shot a gun before. We give them a certified guy to come in and help them shoot. That all of a sudden they change their mind once they be able to do something because they've never had the chance. My daughter went up there several years ago. She got scared out of her mind. I mean, you know, gunfire going on today. Those people up there, it's an everyday deal. I'm sorry, you know, and stuff. But we are not Chicago. We are Southern Illinois. You know, all three of you guys are, so are everybody in here and stuff. So we'd like to see it on the ballot is what we'd like to do. Thank you.
Anyone else? And on the golden X and identify yourself.
I'm Dave McReynolds of Marion. I was here in July and listened to the discussion of the commissioners. And if I remember right, there was an initial discussion of specific 5 laws that you guys were discussing. And this was the initial. I don't understand why you would want to pass a referendum or put something on the ballot that would go just to 5 specific. Because when something new would come up, you'd have to go through this process all over again. So that doesn't make any sense to me, to be specific. Number 2, I always remember that in July that I remember Commissioner Gentry said it was very important to him and this group of 3 to be unified. They always wanted to represent unification. 1 Democrat, 2 Republicans on this board, but that Mr. Gentry, Commissioner Gentry, wanted to be unified. That's why they wanted to go back and have more discussion about this, the language. The language was very, very important to these gentlemen. To me, I didn't think you wanted to get specific language after I listened to your discussion in July. You did not want to be specific. That was one thing. The word any was a problem with you, Commissioner Gentry.
That's correct.
That is. Okay, so you went back, you had discussion, okay?
Sort of.
Sort of, okay. Well, whatever's went on, I don't know.
That's right.
So, and then all of a sudden, what I believe is you ought to, when we had a group of people here, not this many in July, but we all three had discussion, and you found out some of those people in that room would be against the way it was written, which made you somewhat surprised. One specific lady I remember specifically, she would vote no.
She didn't understand the question.
But then there was discussion about, you know, that really makes it more important to why just 3 people should decide. Why not put it out to everybody, and then the ultimate outcome would be decided by the majority of the people. That's what you kind of decided, because you kind of reared back from the 3 idea to go to the people. And then if whatever the outcome is, pro or negative, then our representatives, Severin and Fowler, would know how this county stands, and that would be their voice to take to Springfield.
You don't think they don't know?
Now, Commissioner
you don't-
Gentry,
I was questioning.
Commissioner Gentry, yes, I think they know.
Okay.
But you specifically said, I feel like I would know, all you said this, I feel like I know how the outcome would be in November.
Sure.
But we don't know what the outcome. One gentleman said the liberals will turn out to vote against it. We don't know what the outcome would be. Put it out there and let's just see what the outcome would be. Period. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Wait,
Come on up, stand on the Golden X and give us your name.
How y'all doing today? My name is Don Baker. I pay taxes just like everybody does, have a business in town and everything. I got one question, is who determines the wording on how this is presented to go on the ballot?
We board is determined.
Board to board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we've had a couple versions. The original one didn't go like Mr. Reynolds said, and so we had another version that was a little bit modified. And so, but the board, to answer your question, the board is determined.
Does it? Okay. So it's got broader and different interpretations got put in it. Like politicians have gotten today from Springfield and the government and federal and everything else. My thing is, I know we're down here in Southern Illinois, we're different than Springfield and Chicago. You know, I have business up in other parts of the state. Everybody thinks different. And I agree with them, you know, on, you know, East St. Louis, you know, that part of the country should have a stronger, you know, but as the sheriff knows, these gangs, you know, they're gonna get the guns anyway, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna get the Uzis, they're gonna get everything. They outlawed the Tommy gun because of Al Capone and his gangs, you know, and we had them down here that used the Tommy guns, you know. And the thing of it is, we can't change that. But what we can change is the Generation X, the younger generation, to understand what our forefathers, what my parents, grandparents, how they grew up, what they had to do. My grandfather did not lock the front door, but on that front TV, he had a gun sitting there. Did I touch it? No. I got my butt wet, right? But the thing of it is we know that we're not going to stop this. If it's, you know, from even back in the 1800s when immigrants came into New York, you know, they came in and they got the guns and they formed all this. That's how they had to survive. And everybody's doing this, you know. And we got the gangs coming into Carbondale. We got the gangs coming into Mount Vernon, and they're coming in massive. I'm told by FBI agents, I'm told by the Secret Service and everything else. I got a lot of friends up above. I got friends that tell me what goes on even in Chicago, you know. And when a guy goes into a church to rob a church during a church, you know, in an Irish community, then all of a sudden 40, 50 police officers pull their gun on him. You know, he's not very smart, is he? But it happens. And the thing of it is, we have to protect ourselves here too. We have that right. And the thing of it is, we have to know what we are capable and can do. And I want to do what I'm able to do. My business, I want them protected. I want my employees protected. I'm not a big businessman. I got 27 employees, you know. But again, too, you know, we do what we, you know, to protect our families. But I asked this board, number one, whatever goes on this for November, for us to vote on, to be the right thing. Let's do it for ourselves. Let's do it for our families and for our kids, and let our kids understand why we do this. Not because they teach them in school, you can't touch this. This is wrong to go out target shooting. This is wrong to do, things of it is. A lot of our friends and our neighbors went to war, defended our neighbors, our families, and everything else. We have to, it's our job too to train our younger generation the right thing to do. So whatever word is put on this ballot, I feel it's gonna go on a ballot. But the thing of it is let's make it the right wording, the right way. Let's not have it where it's, there's all kind of loopholes in it. Let's have it where it's, they know what we say. They know what we represent. Our senators and everything, even boss, everybody, federal government knows, exactly how we stand with our right here in Williamson County, which is the most important thing to me right now. Thank you.
That's it? 30 minutes.
Unless somebody else has something different they want to address.
Does anybody have anything different to say? We'll have one more if anybody wants to. If not, we'll reach our time limit, 30 minutes. Okay. All right. I greatly appreciate everybody coming out here, and I do appreciate people speaking their mind. I think anytime we have an opportunity to do that, it's great. That's what this country is all about. What I'd like to do is state a little bit of background as to somewhat how we got here. I was the one that initially brought this idea to the board. When Springfield, back up the train here, when Springfield introduced those bills, House bills, there was like 4 or 5 House bills, and then there was, I think there was one Senate bill. Then some of these other counties were starting to do these gun resolutions on their own. Personally, I'm thinking to myself, I know their intent was good, but it's just whether it be 3 people or 20 people on a board speaking the voice of the public that they represent. And I thought there's got to be a better way. Number one, because I thought the word sanctuary was too confusing when they issued sanctuary status on gun resolutions. Sanctuary, people get the term confused, they associate it with illegal immigrants and everything like that, and I thought that's not the correct wording to use. But at the same time, I just want to state, for me personally, I'm a life member of the NRA. I'm 100% NRA. But as a board member, and even, it doesn't matter whatever the position within government, I have to set my emotions aside, because otherwise I'm just speaking for myself. And I didn't think that was right. And so I thought, well, instead of doing what the other counties have done, let's just see if we can get a question on the ballots and get a view from the people that we represent. Let's let you have the opportunity to speak. I was never approached by any party, never at all. Nobody called me and said, Jim, I want you to do this. This was my decision to do this. No one else's. It has since become political. Both parties have jumped on board with this idea. That's very unfortunate. I've gotten phone calls from a number of constituents, including gun shop owners and other gun shop owners, stating that Williamson County needs to do something. And so that's where I'm thinking, okay, we need to do something. But I want it, once again, like what the gentleman said, we need to do the right thing. And I felt in my heart that set my emotions aside about my feelings on gun control legislation and let's hear from the public. If the original intent of this idea was that even if it passed by one vote, the majority rule, and if it passed by one vote, then we would send Springfield this resolution that the voice of Williamson County said we're for it. If it didn't pass by one vote, we would not act on it. Majority would rule on this. Once again, it was a non-binding, what type of question? Advisory question is what they're called. And so, to answer whether it be specific or not, it really doesn't matter. You know, we originally, we did look at these 5 bills, and that was part of the original question. How it's got from that to where it is now, you know, it's a little unfortunate. I never expected this at all. I never had it in my mind for it to be political at all. I do know that there was a concern that it would bring out Republican voters because stats that were told to me reflected, now these are stats that were presented by someone else, said that they felt that there's more Republican gun owners than Democrats. I didn't believe that. You know, I know a lot of Democrats that own guns. You know, there's more than just Republicans and Democrats. There's independents, there's men, there's women. There's a lot of people that own guns. But yet at the same time, if we did something on our own, if you're a non-gun owner, I don't know how you feel. But I'm still your representative. Now, there's an argument on the other side that says we've been elected to do the will of the people. Well, this was my attempt to find out what that will is. And that's, you know, it's like I said, it has been turned political. It was never intended for it to be political. And so that's where we're at today. I do appreciate everybody coming out here. I think we've had a really good representation of people who have different views on it. And with that being said, I do know Ron has requested a little bit of time to answer some of this stuff. So Ron, I'll just turn it over to you.
Thanks, man. Once again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come out here today. I know that this is a hot topic. It's designed that way on purpose. And somebody brought up the FOID card. I think the FOID card, having the FOID card is the most ridiculous thing in the world. We're the only state in the United States that has a FOID card. My wife and I were in Missouri this last weekend, and we went to Bass Pro Shop and was able to buy ammunition without having to show a FOID card. And as a matter of fact, it was a lot cheaper than over there. The issue of a sanctuary county, Jim touched base on it. By being a sanctuary county, gives the impression that you can commit a crime and have refuge here. Well, in the state of Illinois, we're a sanctuary state for illegal aliens. And they can come in here, break the law by being illegal, and have residence in our state and get all kinds of benefits. I haven't liked the word sanctuary from day one because of that. And as I said just a little bit ago to the gentleman that came up and we were having a conversation, the idea of using the position as county commissioner as an elected official in a political realm, I'm adamantly against. I've not done it in the 10 years that I've been here, and I don't have any intention of starting that now. Because of that, I am not in favor of putting it on the ballot. I am in favor of passing a resolution that the 3 commissioners would vote on and send that to Springfield and saying that we're against any future gun legislation. But for putting it on the ballot as a question, I'm not for that. So I want to present that to everybody here. I've said that the last couple of days, and
that's how I feel.
Brent, you want to say anything?
Yeah. I'll kind of, first of all, to address what Mr. McCrennell said, this board is a good board. Matter of fact, the late Chuck Bernardi said it's probably one of the best boards in the history of Williamson County. And you all know he's been there a long time. We don't always agree on stuff when we get in boardroom, but we don't argue and fight and walk out mad. We get in there and we try to get the business done, and we try to split the difference and come up with the rest, to try to become 3-0 votes. So Mr. Reynolds is right on that. But I want to tell you where I feel we got to where we're at today. Because I know what I'm saying here is the truth, okay? So first of all, for the record, all three of us, I'll say it again, we said it for 2 weeks, are all pro Second Amendment. Okay? Let's get that clear. So, you know, I've got a lot of I see hunting buddies in here right now. I see a couple of them here now I'm hunting with. Okay. Back in May and June, we talked about joining other counties. This map, all these green counties that go up for Chicago, these other ones here, the orange, are the ones that are getting ready to vote. We all agreed that that's a good idea to possibly join this group right here on behalf of the county, okay? And what we said, that's a good idea. As a matter of fact, I received a call, Mr. Marlowe did too, from our friend Dennis Dunn at Dunn Sporting Goods, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Dunn encouraged us to pass this resolution, okay? So I received calls from my hunting friends. They love the idea too. They said pass the resolution so we can have a voice, the county can have a voice. Jim belongs to a hunting club. His hunting club, he's shaking his head because this is true, his hunting club, and their attorney,
It's a gun club.
gun club. I said, it's gun club, right?
Close enough.
The gun club and attorney Bernie Paul wrote us a letter, said they love the idea, do it now. Still back about a month and a half. Okay, then things start to come off the rail a little bit, all right? As Commissioner Marlowe said, he came in with the idea to put it under resolution. There was a little bit of hesitation for me on this. But as it turned out, we all voted 3-0 to put it on the ballot. Okay? When we voted for this idea, it was over 5 legislations. These 5 I highlighted. That was our intent, okay? That are going on right now in Springfield. That is what we agreed on. So the goalpost kind of moved up to the next meeting. They came in with the word that any and all this kind of stuff that we didn't even talk about. Matter of fact, I didn't even see the question until the day I had to ask for it to see what we had, and I was not going to sit here and make a decision on something that I just saw. As this went on, I started seeing politics showing its head. I even brought up a few times in meetings that the UCCI, which is the attorneys for counties, had some questions on putting on the ballot, and they wanted to look at it further. There's a letter right here at the bottom that says Attorney Brokaw is asked to investigate the legal aspects of placing a referendum on the ballot. I called pause on that. State's Attorney's Office comes back and they say that this is vague, ineffective, as you said, and we need more time to look into it. So I said, why don't we wait and give them a chance to look into this and get the language, you said, correct, to be out there. I go, and then possibly, if we don't get it done by the deadline, which is the 20th, let's put it on the April ballot. I brought that up at least twice. Oh no, can't put it on the April ballot. Why not? It's a nonpartisan election. What does it matter? If it's November, April, whatever. Then we know the language is correct. I think Commissioner Ellis has explained what he's gone through, which is really hard for me to wrap my head around because the political pressure and threats, as long as I've been in this chair, I have never had one person, anybody, threaten me, tell me how I should vote. I think they know because they're going to go on deaf ears, but I'm going to do what I think is best. And what's taken here is a political football has started, and in my opinion, it's sad at best. There is no way, folks, that I will allow our residents in this county to be a political pawn to anyone on either side of the aisle for themselves to be able to use a commercial with our people, our county, all across this state to be used as a pawn. It's not going to happen. And today, I can tell you there's no way I'm going to second it. There's no way I did the first time. We all have said time and time again that resolutions, all three of us, have little to no weight to them at all. The definition stands for a decision to do or not to do something. The intention. That's all it is. This resolution that we're going to go back to in June now has 37 counties, all in green. And that is as of today. Got this today. So, what I would suggest, the question about putting it on the ballot, if it does not get a second today, we go to the second resolution and go back to where we started from. And that is this map to join the rest of these counties that these calls we got at the beginning want us to do to begin with. We need to get our voice heard, and we need to get heard now. The only way we can get heard now is to vote on this one. Because these laws they're talking about that we agreed on, these 5, will be over on election day. So what I'm recommending is to do that. I think the one thing that really troubles me, is that for past 30 or 45 days, we have put serious business of the county on the back burner to deal with this. We're elected to do the business of the county, okay? This is fine, but we have real business to tend to. So, putting on the ballot, if it doesn't come to a second, I have to move on, and we've tried to pass some resolution and get our voice heard today. Commissioner Marlowe had mentioned in the paper one time, and I'd said something about it before, he said he'd like to have 67,000 people, voices thought to be heard. The reality is, 18 to 21,000 actually come out and vote. Not 67,000. If you want 67,000 people to be heard, the resolution that will be proposed later, we will be heard for the whole county. If you really, really want your voices heard, us 3 commissioners, we're limited to what we can do, folks. We're elected by the people to make the best decision we can. Do we have to go out and we talk about budget, put budget questions, how we should do a budget on the ballot? As long as I've been here, we've had a balanced budget every single year. We don't need to put a question on the ballot about how we're going to do a budget. That's what we get elected for. If you want your voice heard, you need to call every legislator in this state. Or you need to send them a letter and give them a punch and let them know, you know what our guys are going to do, what they're going to vote on. That's not the problem. It's those guys up there. So if you want your voice heard, that's what I recommend you do, but we need to do something today and get it on record. And when we get to this point, if it gets to this point, I'll be recommending this one. Done.
Well, with that being said, I know there's some, as far as county business, I would have to say I disagree. I think county business has been taken care of all along. I don't think we postponed any county business on this. This is part of county business, but that's an argument that I'm not going to get into right now. You know, this whole thing, like I said, my intent was to give the people the opportunity to express their opinion. That was the original intent, personally, because you know, whether it's 67,000, you know, Ron, you said 67,000, Brent, you said 67,000, whether it be, but Brent is correct as far